Welcome back, everyone, at Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan. We are so glad to have you here. Our podcast focus is to encourage you, to motivate and train you to live a life of significance and success as a courageous leader in your area, sharing the truth in love, as Christ asked us to do. I'm Virginia Prodan, the host of Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan, an international human rights attorney, author, speaker, and mother, and an American that loves America. And we are so glad to have with us a courageous leader. I will say to have with us again a courageous leader, Cheryl Chumley. And she is the Washington Times online opinion editor, commentary writer, and the podcast host, Bold and Blunt podcast for the Washington Times. Thank you so very much for coming back to our podcast. This time, we love to talk about the capturing of dictator Mandura by the American government and American military.
It's so great to be back with you, Virginia. Thanks for having me. And yes, let's talk about Maduro, the fate of Venezuela, and what Donald Trump is doing. It's all good. It really is.
I agree with you. It's amazing to me how many things dictator Mandura had in common with dictator Nicolae Ceausescu that I live under in Romania. One is his wife was his right hand. She was there involved with everything. In Romania, we call Elena Ceausescu Jezebel because she was horrible. And also, as I heard from the news, dictator Mandura did not have security guard from his own people. He had the security guard from Cuba. That the same thing dictator Ceausescu had his security from another country. Why? Because these dictators are so cruel that at one point in their life they don't trust people in their own country because they have done horrible things against them. And it's a good day, I believe, for America and for the world that dictator Mandura and his wife were captured.
Absolutely, for the whole Western Hemisphere and for anyone around the world who looks with hope to America to help with freedom around the world. And what you describe about Romania and Venezuela and the commonalities between dictators, isn't that all the same? Dictators are all the same in the end. They just seek 100% control and power over the people. And, they get to a point where they're paranoid about their own people supporting them. So they have to look elsewhere to other dictatorships to come in and help out.
You're right about that. First of all, we have to admire the perfectionist of the American military in accomplishing this capture. It was absolutely amazing. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it was flawless, and really compare this military operation under President Donald Trump to the military operation under former President Joe Biden to withdraw American troops from Afghanistan. And it's just night and day. And this isn't to make light of the lives that were lost during that withdrawal of Afghanistan. It was completely botched by Biden. But it is to say that, we can rest easy. We can smile a little bit that this administration seems to know what it's doing when it comes time to exerting military operations. We have a great commander in chief, and President Trump has just picked excellent people to surround himself with this time. And Pete Hegseth, as Secretary of War or Defense, whichever way you want to call it, he just executed a great operation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, all these people have done great things to freeing America from the chains of Marxism, and now reaching out to Venezuela and doing the same.
It is so true. They practice, I understood from President Trump, from Secretary of State, from Secretary of War. They all explain how much they practice, how they had everything on scale regarding the whereabouts about dictator and so forth. So it was done in such a way to protect not only the military, but also people, our military, but also people around. Also, I heard that 75 Cubans or Venezuelan military were killed during this time. I believe that was part of cleaning up the way to go and take it the dictator Mandura and his wife from the military base where they live.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't have gotten in the way. When we're not talking about, just regular, well-trained military that are put in place to defend the citizens of the country, we're talking about cartel enabling, military forces. They're trained in the ways of military, but they're trained in that way so as to defend the dictatorship that the cartel it uses and exploits in order to push its drugs and poisons overseas. So, America has a great military. Venezuela, Cuba, the militaries that were in place there were more to defend the dictatorship of Maduro and the cartels.
Well, I discovered another way that the dictator Mandura has similar things with dictator Ceausescu. He decided to protect himself by living in a military base, thinking that he will be safe there. Dictator Ceausescu built underneath the palace a tunnel in case something happened, that he will run through that tunnel and he will go outside of Romania. None of them, not Ceausescu and not Mandura, were able to accomplish what they have done. There is a God in heaven who says enough, it's enough, even to a dictator who kills and tries to subdue the entire nation.
Yeah, in the end, dictators are just human too, right? And they put on this show of being untouchable, and they surround themselves so as to appear untouchable, and you can never challenge their power, and if you do, then you'll be killed or tortured or imprisoned, and that's how they secure their power bases for so many years. But in the end, they're just human, right? And all dictatorships fall because freedom is a light that shines brighter throughout the world than does the slavery of dictatorships.
That is so true, because from my own experience, I know that the dictators can implement fear, terror in life of people that they try to control. But there is a point where people under their power will have nothing to lose, and then they will rise up and just fight against the dictator. And I'm so glad that the American President Trump and his military did such an amazing job and work. And somebody said that it's an amazing advertisement for young people to enroll in our military, because it's such a powerful exhibition of how powerful our military, how trained our militaries are.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the recruitment numbers for U.S. military for all the branches have surged since President Trump has taken office, and all the recruiters are meeting their recruitment goals. We can be more selective now about the people that we let into the military because, again, it's an all volunteer force, so we can have a little bit of selectiveness that goes along with that, and we can choose the best of the best to join our military and return it from what it was under Joe Biden and under Barack Obama, sort of this experimental DEI breeding ground, return it to the fighting force that it's supposed to be. And I think what you just described with the mission, the operation in Venezuela to seize Maduro, I think that message is resonating around the world right now, that America's military is back.
Yeah, I believe after 9/11 we had increase in enrollment in the military, and after that, you are so right. Now, yeah, under President Trump, we have again an increase. I cannot imagine what the military and military family felt during Biden administration, where he absolutely abandoned our military and Americans there. I just cannot imagine how they felt about that, and I'm glad that we have a powerful and strong commander, and we praise God for that. I know
Absolutely.
that
Oh,
you.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I interrupt you. Continue.
I was just going to add quickly to that. Yes, under Joe Biden, don't forget we had COVID and the attack on our military members who didn't want to take a COVID shot for religious reasons or for health reasons. And what did President Trump do as soon as he took office? He basically opened the doors for all those members who were booted under Joe Biden from the military because of their refusal to take the COVID shot. He welcomed them back in with back pay, and he sent a strong message that in America's military, citizens will be treated like American citizens and not subjected to some sort of top-down, you obey my law type of vaccine push that Joe Biden's administration did.
Yeah, it is so true. But still, the liberals are trying to do everything that is possible in their on their side to criticize President Trump with this, taking Madura and bringing him to justice in America, and many of them are saying, I believe, out of jealousy, they cannot stand to a perfect mission that was accomplished, and bringing Madura to trial in America, and seeing him in jail clothes and so forth must be really hard for liberals to accept that President Donald Trump has done something absolutely unbelievable, and for the whole world. I believe they feel that America is back, that America is powerful, and freedom can flourish again.
Yeah, Democrats have given an interesting response, haven't they? Because back under Joe Biden, there was a bounty on Maduro's head that was 15 million at first, and then under Joe Biden, it went up to 25 million. And Democrats back then, when Joe Biden was in the White House, were calling for his ouster. They saw Maduro as a threat. They saw him as a dictator. They saw him as evil, and were on board with ousting him from power. And then particularly when he stole the election, right? He basically, it was like 70% against him, and he used his power base to steal the election and remain in power. So Democrats at one time wanted to see him go, but as soon as President Trump accomplishes this successfully and ousts him, all of a sudden it's President Trump and it's the Trump cabinet that are violating civil rights and violating Maduro's rights and so forth. So it's very interesting to see this flip flop of Democrats, and it's due entirely to their Trump derangement syndrome.
How do you feel about the way President Trump, Secretary of State, and Secretary of War responded to the liberals' approach that it was illegal?
Oh, well, I think they had their legal ducks in a row. I think they had everything lined up, and they responded with facts. They said in 2020 there was an indictment issued for Maduro, and that indictment was updated to include his wife based on conspiracy charges. And so, using that indictment, they went forth and they executed this precise military operation. And they even had an answer for the international community, the liberals there, the globalists there that condemned this administration's actions by saying that under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, individual nations, sovereign nations have the right to defend themselves. And it was under that article in which they executed this operation. So I think legally speaking, they spent plenty of time laying the groundwork because they knew that the Democrats and the liberals and the left would come out and cry constitutional crisis. So they wanted to make sure before they executed that they had their legalities all lined up.
I think that God has a sense of humor in the state where a democratic socialist was elected as a mayor. A dictator is brought to justice. A socialist communist dictator is brought to justice.
Yeah, Zoran Mamdani, his head must be ready to explode, which is just where you want him, right? I think it is a little bit humorous that Maduro, the court that he's in, is in Manhattan, is under Mamdani's not jurisdiction, but in his city. So yeah, I agree with you there, Virginia.
Do you think that people in New York or people in all the blue states, with Maduro and his wife staying in trial and being exposed and seeing all over America and all over the world, Venezuelan just jumping of joy that the dictator is finally captured, do you think that Americans who never experienced socialists and communists will finally understand the danger of socialism?
That's a very good question because it's difficult at this point in time with the open borders that occurred under Joe Biden and under Barack Obama and all the illegals that surged in here. It's difficult when you see these protests go forth in the street to know how much of that is really grassroots American citizens exercising their First Amendment rights and how much of that is really paid protesters by the Marxist camps or illegals in this country still illegally who have come from nations with socialist and communist governments and then want to see the same brought here to America. So my instinct is that American citizens, by and large, know the dangers of socialism and they do not want it. And that is why the Democrat Party will never come out and openly say they embrace socialism. They always disguise it as democratic socialism or progressivism or just democracy. But we have so many illegals in the streets now, and we have so many paid protesters by far leftists, some of whom are being paid from China or CCP supported outlets, that it's difficult to go to any of these protest movements and say, well, this is a grassroots American citizen protest and this is a paid protest.
In other words, you are saying the enemy is inside of America.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, and has been for a while. And the real danger is that too few Americans were alert to the danger. They wanted to dismiss it or pretend that in America this could never happen. And now we're on the cusp of things actually happening in America. A decade ago, Zoran Mamdani would never have been elected in New York City as mayor, as an open socialist. He would have had to disguise that. But now he's open, and that's the danger because it shows a normalization of something that is completely counter to what America is supposed to be. And as that socialist slash communist grows even more normalized in society, more and more candidates will just run on a socialist tag. And soon enough, our country will crumble from within unless we fight back.
In fact, if we remember correctly, at his inauguration, they said that if we establish socialists and communists in New York, that means that we can do in other states in America. That's what they hope to. But on our part, what do you think? I know that you have a podcast. You are an online opinion editor, and your focus, my focus at the podcast, is to share my experience in communist and socialist Romania, and to let people know about what can happen. I wrote my memoir, "Saving My Assassin," and can explain life in socialism. Tell us just a little bit about your role as an opinion editor at the Washington Time Online, and also at the podcast at the Washington Times.
Well, everything that I write about and that I talk about, whether my podcast or commentaries, or I'm an author too, nonfiction books, everything I write about has to deal with Christian conservatism. It's based on the American excellence, the American exceptionalism of God-given individual rights and liberties. And to me, that's the ultimate war in America. All these fights that we go forth politically and in the education system and even economically, they can all be filtered through the key battle of fighting for God-given individual rights. And to have God-given individual liberties and rights, you have to have God. So that's the ultimate battle in America, to reinvigorate the ideas of fusing Christianity and Judeo-Christian principles with government.
You are so right, because many times I said I'm a living proof of the fact that only in America you can come empty-handed, not knowing one word in English, and learning English, going back to law school a second time, once in Romania and one here, and having a law firm, writing a book, raising 3 kids. One graduated from SMU like me, one from Harvard Law School, and one from Air Force Academy. This is the only country in the world where you can rebuild your life. And many Americans, brainwashed, they don't understand, but I will never stop like you, telling and encouraging them to understand the beauty of America and keep America free. And you are doing an excellent job, Cheryl. Would you please tell our audience how they can find you?
Sure, thank you for that. WashingtonTimes.com. You can see my writings there, subscribe to my newsletter. My podcast is there, or you can just search on Bold and Blunt. It's anywhere podcasts are. I have a Substack on my name, and just find me on social media as well. Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for everything you are doing. And it's so precious, so valuable. And we cannot thank you enough. I hope the audience will go to your website, will listen to your podcast and read your articles. And I'm so grateful for everything you are doing. I hope you return to our podcast, Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan. We have it every Wednesday and Saturday, 10 o'clock. We are so grateful for sharing with us. precious, precious, precious idea and how to fight for freedom. And until next time, I hope you go to virginiaprodanbooks.com/contact. You can contact there. We can help you in any way possible. And you can also find the book there, Saving My Assassin. Until next time, thank you so very much again. You are so precious. We admire you for everything you are doing, and we are gracious for you.
You're too kind. Thank you for all you do, Virginia. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and see you later, everyone. I hope you go to Cheryl's website and to ours, and you will be encouraged to stand up and be courageous and fight for freedom. Until next time, bye-bye.